Chapter 2 Sir 𴘚ᴜ Tata. In many ways, 𴘚ᴜ is the unsung hero of Tata, a sportsman, statesman, and far-sighted leader who gifted India both the Olympic ideal and a trust foundation that brought hope to many over the years. 𝖚̈ or 𝖚̈ṛ as he was generally called took over as chairman of the Tata Group of companies after his father's passing in 1904. Although Jamshedji has been generally hailed as the visionary and his son as the man who essentially took his late father's plans through execution, 𝖚ᴜ was much more than a mere lieutenant. He was himself a leader and a true visionary, who took his father's plans and goals and not only brought them to fruition, but along with his brother Ratan Tata, improved them greatly. Following in his father's footsteps, the eldest son of Jamshedji and Hirabai Tata, 𝖚ᴜ was born in 1859 and grew up primarily in Bombay. He attended Preparatory High School and was then sent to England to continue his education with a private tutor. In 1877, he enrolled at Gonville and Caius College, Cambridge. It was here that the 18-year-old's love of sports emerged. He won awards in cricket and football and distinguished himself in rowing, running, and riding. After 2 years, he returned to India at his grandfather's request to enroll at St. Xavier's College. After graduating, 𝖚ᴜ became a journalist with the Bombay Gazette, but soon fell under the spell of his family's business. In 1884, he left the paper to join Tata's cotton division at Empress Mills, where one of his early assignments was to travel to Mysore to explore opportunities for expansion there. Once the viability of growth there was confirmed, 𝖚ᴜ obtained the necessary government approvals with impressive speed. Jamshedji was eager for his son to meet the highly regarded Dr. H.G. Baba while he was in Mysore. During their first meeting, 𝖚ᴜ also met Baba's young daughter 𝖤ᴏ, and it is said that he fell in love with her at first sight. The two were married in 1897 when 𝖚ᴜ was 38 and 𝖤ᴏ just 18. The union was a happy one, although the couple had no children. A dream materialized. Back in Bombay, 𝖚ᴜ took the challenge of supporting his father's vision to heart, working under Jamshedji and then assuming the chairman role. Upon his father's death in 1904, 𝖚ᴜ labored tirelessly towards creating a modern iron and steel industry in India. Tata Steel and Tata Power now exist because of 𝖚ᴜ's perseverance and personal involvement in their creation. In addition to founding new companies, 𝖚ᴜ also fostered expansion across the group. He helped to establish 3 hydroelectric power companies, an oil and soap company, an insurance business, and 2 cement companies, in addition to supporting J.R.D. Tata's aviation unit and investing in the progress of science and medicine through the establishment of the Indian Institute of Science. He was knighted in the New Year's Honours List in 1910, a recognition of the devotion and courage with which, in furthering his father's project, he had also served the country. Not that 𝖚ᴜ's tenure as chairman was without critical challenges. 𝖚ᴜ used the post-World War I economic expansion to propel the exponential growth of Tata. This went remarkably well until 1924, when a perfect storm of economic events collided with progress. That year, prices skyrocketed in response to transportation and labor issues in the West. With rising costs came precipitous declines in revenue. On top of this, a massive earthquake that suddenly drove down demand for pig iron hit Tata Steel's largest customer, Japan. 𝖚ᴜ may not have realized just how bad things were until he received a telegram from Jamshedpur announcing that Tata Steel did not have enough money on hand to pay its employees. Unable to pay wages from corporate funds, 𝖚ᴜ pledged his own wealth and his wife's jewels to qualify for a bank loan, which would allow the company to continue operating. This personal risk-taking proved critical to the survival of Tata Steel, and when revenue began to rise thanks to expanded production, the loan was repaid. A passion for sport. 𝖚ᴜ's passion for sport led him to advocate India's participation in the Olympics as early as 1919, much before the nation had established its own Olympic committee. He explained his motivation thus: "Having been educated in my youth in England, I had shared in nearly every kind of English athletics and acquired a great love for them. On my return to India, I conceived the idea of introducing a love for such things there. I helped set up, with the support of English friends, a high school athletic association amongst numerous schools of Bombay, in the first place for cricket and then for athletic meetings, which embraced nearly all the events which form part of the inter-university contest every year in London." For 𝖚ᴜ, adopting a game also meant adopting European clothes, rules, and notions of order and fair play. Sport became the playing field where tradition and modernity met, clashed, and fused. He was elected president of Deccan Gymkhana, an athletics meeting which took place in Pune. The Gymkhana committee wanted to develop their sports program more in line with established Indian traditions, but 𝖚ᴜ insisted on fusing the two cultures. 𝖚ᴜ found that the competitors were all boys of the peasant class working in the fields and living off poor fare. with the organizers proposing to run their 100-yard heats around a bend without strings because their sports ground was very small and the track was part of a rough unrolled grass field. Other popular events included a long-distance race of over 25 miles, rightly designated as the marathon. The peasants who participated were used to running barefoot on hard, macadamized or dirt roads. Despite their lack of training and the primitive conditions, the first 3 or 4 men ran the distance in fair time. As Ďořeb observed, their time would compare well with the times done in Europe or elsewhere. In 1919, some of their performances were close to the times clocked in the Olympics. With hope in his heart, Ďořeb decided to send 3 of the runners at his own expenses to the Antwerp Games of 1920. I hope that with proper training and food under English trainers and coaches, they might do credit to India. This proposal fired the ambition of the nationalist element in that city to try and send a complete Olympic team. He later explained in a letter to the International Olympic Committee President 𝖘𝖚𝖕𝖕𝖔𝖐 in 1929, the peasant athletes had little idea of what was required to participate in the Olympics or of the standard of performance essential to qualify for any of the events. For instance, a key member of the Gymkhana, when asked what time he thought was standard for a 100-yard race, replied that it could be anything from half a minute to a minute. He was astounded when told that it was not a matter of minutes but rather of tens of seconds. Ďořeb became president of the fledgling Indian Olympic Council and personally financed the Indian team's participation in the 1924 Games in Paris, where it is reported that his wife 𝖄ᴏ Tata took part in the tennis mixed doubles fixtures. 𝖄ᴏ was a top tennis player and had won many national level tournaments in the early 1920s. Ďořeb saw the value of India having its own team at the Olympics. While it was still under British rule, it was not just a matter of pride, it was an early step towards independence. He regularly scouted for sporting talent and established training clubs and facilities to develop it. The Wellington Sports Club, the Parsi Gymkhana, the High Schools Athletic Association and the Bombay Presidency Olympic Games Association were all initiated by Ďořeb. Thanks to his involvement, India won the gold medal in hockey at the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam. Reinvesting in India. In 1932, nearing the end of his life and following the loss of his wife to leukemia, Ďořeb placed his entire fortune of over 10 million rupees, the equivalent of $64 million in today's times, in trust to be used without any distinction of place, nationality or creed, for the advancement of learning and research, the relief of distress and other charitable purposes. In establishing the Sir Ďořeb Tata Trust, he said, "To my father, the acquisition of wealth was only a secondary object in life. It was always subordinate to the constant desire in his heart to improve the industrial and intellectual condition of the people of this country, and the various enterprises which he from time to time undertook in his lifetime had for their principal object the advancement of India in these important respects. Kind fate has, however, permitted me to help in bringing to completion his inestimable legacy of service to the country, and it is a matter of the greatest gratification to his sons to have been permitted to carry to fruition the sacred trust which he committed to their charge." Soon after this, in April of the same year, as a memorial to his wife, he endowed the Lady Tata Memorial Trust with a corpus of 2.5 million rupees, the equivalent of $60 million in today's times, for research into leukemia. The Lady Meherbai D. Tata Education Trust was formed as a much smaller trust, partly from public donations for the training of women in hygiene, health and social welfare. The first 3 Tata Trust, the Sir Ďořebji Tata Trust, supports the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, the Tata Memorial Center for Cancer Research and Treatment, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, the National Center for the Performing Arts, the National Institute of Advanced Studies and the Sir Ďořebji Tata Center for Research in Tropical Diseases. The Lady Tata Memorial Trust funds research into leukemia. The Lady Meherbai D. Tata Education Trust supports advanced education for women. Ďořebji died of a heart attack on 3rd June 1932, leaving behind a stronger Tata and India on and off the field.